Good day, everybody. Let's talk about laws and the limits of law. Laws are meant to control behavior to provide society with a sense of commonality. They certainly do a good job of controlling behavior. Laws are also created to instill a sense of fairness, and in that regard, where everybody plays by the same rules. That said, there are things that laws don't do well, 3 in particular, and these include, first, creativity. Laws don't do a great job of promoting creativity. Remember, laws, like a rule, is another word for no. We tell people they can't do something. Rare is the law that says, we want everybody to do this. We order you to do that. We decree that this is what you should do. And it's usually something that isn't fun. So laws don't do that. They instead inhibit your creativity. They say you can't do this and you can't do that. It's a control over behavior. And anytime you control others, you inhibit creativity. Not a good thing, not necessarily unjustified, but laws do that. In that case, we must be very careful of the laws that we pass, because there's unintended consequences to a law. Often these consequences aren't known for several years. One reason why laws should continually be reviewed. Again, something that rarely happens. Once a law is on the books, very few legislatures or executives will go through a law book and say, let's take away all these laws. They don't make sense anymore. People aren't elected to take away laws. Instead, they're elected and created to make new laws. There's fun in creating new laws. Second is that laws don't do a good job of creating initiative or motivation. Very similar to creativity, this is the act or the action. So they don't promote initiative and motivation because, again, the rules say no, don't do that. A good example is tax law. Tax law often doesn't encourage people to take a risk and to motivate to make additional monies. For one, in the United States, we have a progressive tax system, which means the more money you make, the more money they take. Again, it inhibits motivation and initiative. The higher the tax rate, the less motivation somebody will have. If you want to motivate people a little bit more, they often reduce the tax rate, but it only works so far, and it has to be a significant cut that encourages people to change the way that they work. So, in the most part, rules, like laws, do not create much initiative and motivation. The more rules that you have, the more laws that you create, the less motivation that you're going to have in a society. And last, laws don't do a good job of creating fairness. As I mentioned earlier, laws are meant to, in this regard, in regards to fairness, to ensure that people have the same rules, that they follow the same rules. However, laws also have unintended consequences. When you use laws to redistribute, whether it's rewards, any types of rewards, whether it's money or things, then there's an imbalance between inputs and outputs. Those that work the most, who invest the most and risk the most, often have the most rewards. But if you redistribute the rewards, you also aren't redistributing the effort. Someone will work less because they receive less. So fairness is often not a great consequence of a law. If you are going to redistribute, whatever it may be, benefits of some sort, you must also redistribute the efforts that it took to obtain those rewards. That's almost impossible to do, because as we learn, laws often don't promote creativity and don't do a good job of encouraging initiative and motivation. What we learned is laws are great, they have a role in society, but there's also limitations. And anytime a law is created, promoted, or maintained, we should not only look at what the constraints of that law is today, but over the long term. One way to do that is to put sunsets on laws, to ensure that laws end, or at least should be reviewed after a given time, so that you can look at the intended and unintended consequences of a law, and to make sure that law still does what it was intended to do. I wish everybody the best. Have a great day.